What's up, audit fans? Dr. Amanda White here, and I'm back. I know I've been away for a while. As you know, in March, Australia went into a sort of lockdown and we moved to social distance teaching. And I recently, at the beginning of the year, got promoted to deputy head of the accounting discipline group, which was fantastic. But also that meant that my role now also involved supporting all of the subject coordinators and reaching out to students, and my job just became huge for a few months. Things have started to settle down now. Today is results day, and in my first video back, I thought I'd share with you my student feedback, and I haven't looked at this before, so we'll be looking at this at the same time. Let's get into it. Okay, everyone, I'm really nervous. I really love getting feedback from students. It is really helpful as a student to be able to tell your coordinators or your lecturers what you liked and what didn't work. But I'm always wary about how students can often be a little bit cruel from behind the keyboard because this is all anonymous. And so, I'm a little bit nervous. So right here, you can see I'm in my survey page. I'm going to go into the first one, and you'll see that I've got two sets of feedback here. But the first one is for my 4 o'clock class. And it's just going to generate the report here. We're just waiting. All right, let's download it as a PDF. I haven't looked at it. I've been sure not to look at it, but I'm going to download it as a PDF and then open that in a note-taking app. All right, here we go. I'm looking as you're looking here. So what you'll see in my student feedback survey is the first one is the learning opportunities help me meet the objectives of this subject. So every subject has its objectives, and my score here is 4.57 out of 5. So these scores are all out of 5. That's pretty good. And when I'm looking at this, most students strongly agreed or agreed, and only a small number of students were neutral. So that's pretty good. The next one, I'll do this one in a different highlight color, was I made the most of my opportunities to learn in this subject. So this one is sort of hard for me to control because I can't control what students choose to do. Hopefully I can encourage them. But again, 4.58 is pretty awesome out of 5. That's pretty great. Now you'll notice there are 185 students in this subject and only 65 of them actually filled it in. So that's only 35%. This is not all my students as well. So let's look at the next question. Overall, I'm satisfied with the quality of the subject. So that's taking into account all the resources and everything structured. 4.62, I'm pretty happy. And what I'm really happy about also is that this D and SD down there, that is students who would disagree or strongly disagree. So students agreed or were neutral, but nobody strongly disagreed. And I find that in student feedback surveys, you get students who love the subject and want to tell you about it, or they hated it and they want to tell you about it, obviously. And you don't tend to get a lot of students in that middle. So I'm really pleased at this point. All right, let me change my highlight color. Let's go back to yellow. The subject provided me with opportunities to interact online as part of my learning experience. 4.7, yes, that's pretty good there. And again, no disagrees or strongly disagrees. And we had Zoom classes once a week. Plus, I also use Microsoft Teams for my students to interact with me more informally and on a day-to-day basis. Today is results day, so I asked them to post their GIFs of how they're feeling. I'll share some of those, but they were pretty awesome. All right, next one. The assessment tasks were directly related to the subject. And that's 4.69. That's pretty good. That's almost 4.7 out of 5. Now remember, how this should work is that you should have learning objectives for your subject, things you want students to be able to walk away and do. Then you should build your class activities to help students meet those learning objectives. And then you should build your assessments again, to flow back into those learning objectives. And that process has actually a technical name. It's called constructive alignment. And it comes from Biggs. I think it's 1985. maybe I'll find the right reference and I'll put the book in there. But the idea of constructive alignment is that when we design a university subject or unit or a course, I want students to know be able to do certain things. I have 5 learning objectives, I think, for my subject. And then I want to design every single learning activity, every lecture slide, everything you do for homework or every class activity towards helping you build the skills in those objectives. And then your assessment should meet those learning objectives as well. Now, sometimes you might get assessments that just don't seem to match to any of the material. If you do get assessments like that, go back to your coordinator and say, hi, I'm really curious about this assessment. I don't know how it meets my learning objectives. Most institutions will have to map it out. Here is the learning objective, here is the task, here is how they link together. But it's good to see that my students think that the assessment tasks are linked to what they need to learn. And then the last one, overall, I received constructive feedback throughout the subject. That's 5.54. That's still pretty good. But to me, this is going to be one of those areas where I think I need improvement. And you can see here, 2 students disagreed. So I need to figure out ways to provide feedback. And normally I would be in the room with my students and be like, that's really great. How are you going on this class activity? So feedback is more part of our dialogue. Now that I'm teaching online for our 2nd semester, which starts in a couple of weeks, I need to figure that out. And I'm looking at different processes. I'm looking at the research. I'm trying to talk to people who are experts in teaching online about how I can give more feedback or provide opportunities, right? I can't force students to do activities where I can give them feedback, but I want to try and do more to try and encourage them. So that's something that I'm going to work on. And then the big question, which I'll highlight in pink here, overall, I'm satisfied with how this staff member facilitated my learning. This is like the overall score, which is 4.8. I think 4.8 might be the highest score I've ever received. So I'm so excited. But this term was really, really tough. Because we were online and I'd never taught online before. Like I've been teaching you guys, I guess, online through YouTube, but it was really hard. And I can tell you, I spent way more hours probably supporting my students than I should have. I'm supposed to spend about 2.5 days a week doing student and support work based on my job and my role description. But I think I was answering emails late at night, but I'm really glad because my students did really well this term and I hope they should be really happy with their marks. And we tried online exams for the first time. There's a whole lot of stuff. So 4.8, I'm so excited. That's really, I'm just so stoked. So to all my students out there who from autumn at UTS who are watching, like, thank you. Hang on, let me do the heart thing. Because I'm so happy that you thought that the subject was good. But I was tough as well, so we had some things going on. So I can't claim all of this myself. I had 3 other teachers in the room with me, and those were Mike, Camille, and Ben. They're my tutors. A big thank you to them. Mike has gone on to an awesome new tutorial job in an innovation subject. Ben's audit firm is just taking off and he's taking a semester off, but Camille and I will be back in spring. So now here is the written comments. And sometimes the written, like if you search mean feedback on YouTube, you're going to see heaps of academics reading mean stuff. So I don't know how we're going to go here. So now I want to talk about, I guess, online learning. And I know that everybody is learning online. Not a lot of people are going to be learning in their classrooms unless you're in New Zealand. Hello, New Zealand. They've gone back to physical classes this week. Lots of students in lecture theatres. A colleague of mine in Otago was so excited to be back in the room, and I miss the classroom and I miss my students. But let's talk about online learning and what you need to do to succeed as an online learner, because this is totally different than being in the classroom. And I'm going to pull out some points that I think I've noticed things or characteristics about students that have done well and how that's helped those students, really achieve. So the first one is motivation. And when I say motivation, it is so easy to stay in bed. I know my first year accounting students were like, Like, where is everybody studying from? And they're like, in bed, still lying in bed. So motivation is key. Why are you here? Why are you doing the subject? Because unless you've got some reason to get out of bed and do the work, it's going to be really, really hard. Now, even if this is not your area of expertise, like if you're studying audit and you want to be a management accountant, think about what could I take away from studying audit that could help me? What could you take away from studying audit that could help me as a financial analyst, as a lawyer? So look at the subject and think, what could I take away? And it could be knowledge, or it could be a skill, right? It could be the ability to do something, to communicate, to work in a team, to learn how to write, to learn how to use online tools. So motivation is really the why question of why you're there and the what can you get out of it. Okay, that's really, really critical. The second thing I think that's really important is organization. All right, especially when you're studying from home or from wherever you live, it's really easy to just press the snooze button. So things that I like to do is make sure that all of your classes are in your calendar and you set a reminder alarm. Schedule time for prep and study. Okay, I think that's really, really important. Like time to do the readings, time to answer the homework questions, time to prep. That's really important because not just your face-to-face hours. I would expect my students should be doing about 6 to 9 hours a week of work outside of the 3 hours or the 2 hours that they spend with me. So schedule time for prep and study, be organized, turn up to class. Now, the other thing that's really critical is to get involved. And what do I mean by getting involved? It is really easy to sit there in a Zoom class, turn off your webcam and do something else. All right. So getting involved means a couple of different things. So that means turning on your webcam. Okay, now I'm here in my studio, this is where I teach my classes from, but if you're at home, don't worry if your dog is in the background or your mum walks in with your washing or whatever that is. Flatmates walk by and they do this in the background because my kids come and crash classes all the time on Zoom. So turning on your webcam will help me see you, and that'll help the academic or your teacher put a face to the name so that if you have a problem, they'll be like, I remember Amanda, she has her webcam on and she's always wearing like this fluffy dressing gown or whatever it might be. So get involved means firstly turning on your webcam. And that also means that if the coordinator asks for a volunteer, don't be afraid to volunteer. Say yes. All right, yeah, I'll have a go. All right, or if you've got a comment, press the space bar to unmute yourself or put your hand up using the little Zoom raise hand. That could also mean engaging in the chat. Engage with other students. All right, so that's not just between you and your teacher, but engage with your peers, okay? So that means peers as well as the teacher. The other place where you can get involved is in whatever your online forum is. Now, for me, that's Teams. My students all have access to Teams. It could be Canvas, it could be Blackboard, it could be Moodle, whatever your learning management system is, there is some sort of platform. Now, your academic is probably going to try and get you involved in early weeks by posting a funny GIF. Show me a picture of a place you'd rather be. Set your Zoom background as where you'd like to be on holidays right now. When your coordinator or your teacher suggests something fun like that, get involved. All right, we really love to see that, the more that students get involved, then the more feeling of community you'll feel. Because the key to doing well at university is feeling like you have belonging, feeling like you belong in the cohort. And that's really easy to feel isolated and alone when we're studying online and when you're teaching online. I feel really isolated, even though I can see 200 students in the Zoom. If none of them have their webcams on, I'm like, what are they doing? Are they confused? In class, I rely on reading facial cues, like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. So even if you've got your webcam on and you're nodding, all right, or I don't get it, that all helps. Now, if you can't turn your webcam on because you've got bandwidth restrictions or it crashes your connection, then one other thing might be to put a photo as your ID or your profile picture. All right, now the reason I say that is because, again, when I can't see someone's face, I'm like, I wonder what they look like. And a student of mine who lives not far from me said she saw me at our local Woolworths supermarket and she started to wave and she wondered why I didn't wave back. And that was because she had never turned her webcam on and I had no idea what she looked like. So to create this feeling of belonging, this sense of community, use a Bitmoji, all right? So you'll see I've used Bitmojis on my YouTube channel before. Take a Bitmoji photo of you, something that, you know, whether it's a sporty thing or a relaxing thing or just like the waving Bitmoji, dress them like you would dress and stick that as your profile picture on Zoom so that we have an idea of who you are. Because getting involved, leaning into the conversation, getting involved online is going to enhance your online learning experience 200%. The other thing that I want to mention, number 4, is feedback. Now, I know that we've just gone through my feedback from the very end of the term, but try and give feedback before then. If something was really great, I would love it if a student dropped me an email and said, hey Amanda, that activity today was really fantastic. Could we do another one of those next week? If it was a Kahoot that you liked, or we were doing collaborative group activities, and I noticed like 75% of the students left the Zoom room as soon as I said collaborative activities. And now I'm thinking, how can I make that better? But if there's something you didn't like, also please say, look, it just didn't work. We were too afraid to turn on our webcams. We don't understand how to do something. Please provide us with that feedback, because some academics won't think to ask for it. Now, I ask for feedback from my students every 2 weeks. What's great? What's not working? How can we fix it? Let's have a brainstorm together. But if your academic isn't doing that, then maybe write a nice email. Hi, Dr. So-and-so or Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so. You know, I'm enjoying the subject, but I'm really struggling with this. I was thinking maybe could we try this instead? I would love students, and I've had great student suggestions in terms of being proactive. So I really hope that while you're learning online in your second term or the second half of this year, obviously I will be writing some more tips and things about learning online. I want you to have the best online experience possible. I know it's not ideal. This is not where any of us want it to be. In 2020, I was allocated a beautiful lecture theatre or a collaborative theatre that had group workspaces and we could move around and we could create posters and do all this fantastic stuff. I bought 48 sets of coloured texters so that we could do all of this type of work. It's sitting in my office. I haven't been there since March. And I was so excited about being in those spaces. I did not want to be teaching remotely, but we're making the best of what we've got. And I want you to have a good experience. And so some of that is from your teacher and what they're doing. Some of that is also from you. Lean in. If you think, I don't know anyone in this class, I'd like to make friends, pop a post in your discussion board. Hey everyone, is anyone wanting to join a little informal study group? We might meet like once a week on Zoom or on Teams or on Google Hangouts or whatever it might be, because you're only going to meet other people if you reach out and you make that effort. Talking with your teachers and with your peers is going to make online learning so much better than just sitting at home and watching from the sidelines. In terms of what's coming up on Amanda Loves to Audit, I have so many things. Let me go to my list and I will read them out to you in terms of the things of my YouTube plan. So, number 1, these aren't in any particular order, but I asked everybody out there for comments, evaluating the outcomes of tests of controls. I'm going to do more on that. I'm going to create a series about auditing different processes, sales, cash receipts, payments, ordering, inventory, etc. And I'm going to go through common steps in the process, common controls, ways to test those controls, and substantive testing. That's going to be a really big series that I'm going to be working on sort of bit by bit throughout the next 12 weeks. How to make yourself stand out on the job market is on my list of things. Talking about the International Accounting Ethics Standards Board's new code of ethics. More on designing substantive tests, computer-assisted audit techniques. I had a request for how audit is done in the Big Four. So practical knowledge and application, using audit standards in the exams, and of course, at some point I'm going to talk about the Wirecard fraud. I don't want to make a video too early as where more information is coming to light, but lots of things. Now, if there's something you'd like to see that you haven't already, remember to always check out my study guide first, because I've got lots of videos there. I've also got all my auditing standards videos. There's a whole playlist where I've walked through every single Australian auditing standard, which is pretty close to the international ones. But if there is something else that I haven't made that you'd love to put on my mega list of things to do, then please do. For the next 12 weeks, I'm only working 4 days a week, so I'm working Monday through Thursday at my university job, and Fridays I'm taking annual leave as part of my institution's policy to try and take more annual leave. So Fridays is going to be my YouTube video making day to make sure that we've got new content every week. So I'm back. I'm glad to be back. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all staying safe, staying well, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.